This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, it's ODB, Our Lifestyle podcast, and we want to remind you that Bayou Showdown is going down later this year in Slidell, Louisiana at the Harbor Center. That's 100 Harbor Center Boulevard, again in Slidell, Louisiana. Bayou Showdown is November 20th and 21st. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving, so get on out and support the scene, including Custom Car Show Productions in conjunction with Mr. Sean Randall. Bayou Showdown, November 20th and 21st, Slidell, Louisiana. Check that hashtag, Bayou Showdown, or Facebook, Bayou Showdown, for more information. Yo, it's Our Lifestyle Podcast, also known as OLP. Thanks for coming back and listening every single week. This is episode 253. It's going down. We've got a jam-packed episode, and I want to thank Bayou Showdown and Orange Beach Invasion. Those are the next two events under the Custom Car Show Production umbrella that are coming up. Of course, Bayou Showdown is this November, the weekend before Thanksgiving in Slidell, Louisiana. Mini trucks, full-size trucks, of course, lowriders, you name it, they're going to be there, Slidell, Louisiana. Also, Orange Beach Invasion, one of our favorite shows. It's going down in Orange Beach, Alabama. One of the biggest, baddest shows around. You can find out more on Facebook, Instagram, and, of course, orangebeachinvasion.com. You can pre-register right now. The premium spots are up. You have to contact Lauren Miller on Facebook. Hit her up. Now, we also want to thank Corey and team over at Mini Truck Showdown for coming on board to partner with OLP. We certainly appreciate that. You can search on Instagram, Mini Truck Showdown. They're also on Facebook as well. You want to look out there for the event. Now, their next event that we're really keen to is going to be right now. As of right now, it's May of 2022. And I'm hearing that could change, so we'll be able to bring you the information as soon as we get it. This event for 2021 was off the hook. They've grown by leaps and bounds. They moved from Bakersfield to Vegas. But, oh, by the way, when they pulled out of Bakersfield, they still had plans to come back there. So they're cooking up some stuff back in Cali. But, of course, their flagship event, Mini Truck Showdown, is going down in Vegas. Much more to come. We've had Corey on in the past, and we'll have him on very soon to kind of talk about some key updates. But Mini Truck Showdown, this is becoming one of the biggest, baddest mini truck shows on the West Coast. I don't want to say anywhere because we still have some of our favorites like Southeast Mini Truck and Nats, which to us we just love, and that's of course every April in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. But on this episode, basically what we're going to do is kind of the future generation. We're going to touch base hopefully with a few of the up-and-coming, dudes, right, in the scene. And I'll cut away for some audio a little bit earlier to keep this episode fresh. Because Mike the Mayor can't get a hold of this guy, man. He's out gallivanting last weekend, missing Small Town Throwdown. Man, dude, you can't hold this guy down, man. He's working on his new album, I think, The Gallivanting Man. Have no clue what he's up to, but rest assured, hopefully we'll touch base with Mike next week. If everything works out, this episode, as I mentioned, kind of future mini trucker, so to speak. Carter is from Down the Earth Photography. I think he's going to be up first. And then, of course, no stranger, Dayton from Future Mini Trucker Podcast. We're excited to talk with him a little bit. And then if all works out, we'll also have another guest. We'll kind of see how that works in a little bit later to the episode. We are also going to have kind of an announcement from Hammered Weekend Wear, so we'll do a little bit of audio there. That's going to include Rickety Ron Perkins, maybe Hank, Adam Tripp, and then Corey Floyd. So it's cool stuff coming there. It's all on this episode. And the overview is brought to you by Graphics Mafia. If you're in the need for stickers, maybe you had a sticker made in the past and you want to get it reprinted, hit up Graphics Mafia. All you have to do is send them the file. They'll take care of you. Great customer service, great support overall, and we even had them deliver stickers to shows for us. They go above and beyond, but don't just take our word for it. Hit up graphicsmafia.com or Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. All right, the scene updates. So this one we're going to kick off a little bit different. Again, we're trying to keep things fresh around here, non-mundane, so to speak. And I'm going to actually jump on now with Carter from Down to Earth Photography. All right, so as I just mentioned, we're going to go ahead and pick up here with Carter from Down to Earth Photography. How you doing, Carter?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Everything's good. I've been wanting to have you on. I met you at Made of Steel Show, one of our favorite shows out here in the Central Florida area, Dover, Florida, of course, typically every May. And man, I got a chance to know you, and you've been going to shows for a while. So why don't you do a little bit of introduction on yourself, maybe your full name, and kind of just where you grew up at.
So originally, my name's Carter Colburn. I grew up in Ohio, in the Portage County area, about 40 minutes from Cleveland.
Cool.
And me and my dad, we would work on his truck, his 95 S10. We would work on it, and we would take it to small meets every now and then, but he wanted to go out bigger, so he got a hold of Aaron Combs, who dropped out, and asked him when his show was, and he told him the date, which I can't remember for the life of me. And it was the last year at MAPS, and we took the blue S10 there, and that's where it all started. And that's when we found our club, Down to Earth Customs, based out of PA, and started a Ohio chapter that day.
Man, hey, I appreciate you sharing some of the backstory. Yeah, you could follow them on it's Dropped, DROPT out. We've had Aaron on before, great guy. Had a chance to meet him back at Mini Nats this year in Maggie Valley. But when you talk about, some of the heritage that you've had, so you did spend time in the garage kind of with your pops, like, because he's into this stuff too, right?
Yeah, he grew up 90s mini trucking, going to shows, and he saw this truck in the magazine, in Mini Truckin' magazine, and he's always dreamed of owning it. And one day he got a phone call from his uncle saying, "I got you the truck, come pick it up."
What a great story.
And really went and picked it up and took it home.
Now, when I met you at Made of Steel, you kind of found your way down here. What was the motivation to kind of leave the Midwest area?
It was, my dad has hip and back issues, and he ended up going to the doctor, and they said, it's either you have surgery or you move more south.
Gotcha.
And really, my dad came home that day, and he said, all right, let's sell some stuff, and we're moving to Florida.
There you go, just kind of up and moved. So going back to the Ohio area, so you got a chance to go. My understanding, did you get to go to the prison where they had filmed Shawshank Redemption?
Yes, we went every year at the reformatory.
Reformatory, there you go. Yeah, so thankfully Mike's not on this episode. I don't think he's ever even seen Shawshank Redemption, which really is a true travesty. It's an American treasure of a movie, one of the greatest friendship movies of all time. And I don't know, sometimes I worry about Mike for not seeing some of these amazing classic movies. But put that aside, when I met you, you kind of talked a little bit about you got into the photography stuff as well. Talk to us about that.
Really, it kind of just started when I was younger. At 10 years old, I had my first phone, and really I just started, because we built my famous wagon at the time, and I just started taking photos of it at shows of different backgrounds, like at the reformatory and all that. And really, it just I got into getting a good angle at things, and then I kind of took it next step ahead when I got my new phone at, I think, 12, and started editing my things and started making it more unique, and really it took off from there. And it's now where I'm going to be planning on making a magazine, and it's going to be yearly, and each category in the magazine is going to be each different show. And I'm planning on having that dropped by December 30th.
Well, it's big goals that you're setting for yourself. I love to hear it. Well, let me ask you this: how old are you now?
I am 15 now.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I was wondering, I was trying to think, like, I've been around cell phones a long time. I was like thinking, okay, was he like the flip phone era? I was like, nah, he's too young for that. Was he the BlackBerry? Because Mike still has a BlackBerry, which is weird, right? And I was like, nah,
Yeah.
he's too young for that. Do you remember kind of what phone are we talking about? That you maybe had maybe 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago.
My first phone was a Samsung Galaxy J3.
Nice. Well, you still remember that. That's a way better phone than Mike even has. Because, I mean, clearly when Mike goes to shows, he doesn't even take photos generally. You know what I mean? Generally. So,
Yeah.
last I heard, he doesn't even have a camera on his phone. That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, good stuff, right? But,
Yeah.
why don't you plug your page so that if someone wants to go out there, and, we're all about the future generation, right? Because a lot of us guys, everybody's getting older, but the new wave of, mini truckers is kind of coming in, or enthusiasts, if you want to call them that. So plug your page so people can go out there and kind of see some of the stuff you've been doing.
On Instagram, it's Down to Earth Photography.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, same thing on Facebook.
Yeah, and on Instagram, more than likely you don't have to put that underscore, but it's down underscore and then number 2. And then spelled out Earth Photography. Now, it's not to be confused with our friends, our family out west. They're Down to Earth is the club that's been around a very, very long time. And it was awesome. Chris Kudo from Down to Earth, he was out at Mini Nats this year, and it was cool linking up with them. But it's pretty cool. The spin on your name is kind of ties into what we all know when we hear Down to Earth. We think of low vehicles, right? Low trucks. Do you have a specific type of vehicle or truck that you really like?
Really, I grew up around Chevy S10s, and really when we bought my mom my truck, I kind of fell in love with it, and I fell in love with the square body first gen look of the S10, and that's really what I fell in love with.
Hey, that's not a bad truck to really love. I mean, I remember growing up, and that was the truck that we saw everywhere, and we still see them. They're kind of, I don't want to say getting harder to find, but they are getting harder to find. Especially
slowly fading.
The extended cab trucks are awesome, and hopefully we're going to talk to Collin a little bit later in the episode. I didn't mention his name at the beginning, but it looks like I've got confirmation that we will be able to link up with them. And Collin, he's got his, and it's on the rise. He had some Beltec products on it, and he's doing his thing.
Yeah, I keep in touch with him. I'm planning on meeting up with him here pretty soon at some show.
I love hearing it. What are you, obviously we're kind of, winding down. I mean, in Florida, summer's all year round, let's be honest, but we're kind of winding down the show season to a certain extent. I guess mentally I haven't accepted that, but what are you most excited about going from, the rest of 2021 into 2022?
I'm looking forward just for the upcoming new shows that I've heard about coming down. Like, I'm excited for Slam Fest on October 9th and 10th.
Mm-hmm.
And next year, I'm really looking forward to Eastbound and Down.
Great. I love it, man. Man, you know how to cut some promos. I love this. And Slam Fest, for me, it's near and dear to my heart. This will be the 25th straight one. I guess I'm really showing my age. And it's just the dedication I have to, love going to shows. So to your point, you nailed the dates, 9th and 10th of October. You can go to minimadness.com and pre-register, save about $20. But, oh, by the way, Mike must have paid you good. And if he hasn't paid you, you gotta hit him up, Carter, and be like, yo, man, where's my payday? But you're right, Eastbound Get Down is this January.
Yeah, on January 28th through the 30th.
I think so. And, like I said, when you see Mike next time, just say, yo, pay up, sucker. You know what I'm saying? I'm out there cutting promos for you, Miggity Mike. But in all seriousness, I love to see the passion that you have. At Made of Steel show, you also had a wagon that you were pulling around. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. When we started going to shows, we saw all these pull behind radio flyer wagons that were slammed and lowered, and my dad wanted to go to the next level with it. And for a long time he planned on making like just a homemade chassis, but we ended up finding a Razor four-wheeler that our neighbors were throwing away. We took everything off of it besides the motor. We took a wagon body we had laying around, we cut it to fit, bolted it to the frame, and put two 12-volt deep cycle batteries on, and just started going from there and building it. And it's now on air ride with its own onboard compressor, lights, and whole 9 yards.
Dude, very cool stuff. Anytime we see the younger generation getting involved, and then you have something cool like that, it really kind of reinforces that, hey, you've already got kind of a dedication to wanting to go to shows and represent the scene. When you started telling me that, you had been up to Dropped and Destroyed and you knew some of these folks, I was like, damn, man, even though you're young, you're about that scene, man. I love it.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Carter, it's been cool syncing up with you. We're going to sync up with, it looks like, Collin now, and then we're also going to have, as you know, Dayton on. You guys have kind of forged a little brotherhood yourselves. What else would you want to share with the listeners? I mean, anything we maybe missed or anything you want to mention?
Yeah, this year at Slam Fest, I'm rebuilding my 85 S10 after the wreck it had about a year and a half ago. And it's had a paint accident where the paint peeled off like it was a wrap. And now we're buying new paint for it, and it's going to be revealed off at Slam Fest. And I'm talking with Matt Smith, the owner of Redwood, which was shown off with you guys at After Dark.
Yeah, the real Matt Smith. I love it.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk to him and see if I can get my truck with Redwood this year. I'm pretty good friends with him, so I can probably maybe work it out with him and get both of our square bodies next to each other for the first time.
Look at you already trying to set things up, man. I love the partnerships that you're doing, forming those relationships, and you've obviously linked up with a great guy, Matt Smith, the real Matt Smith, one of the best dudes out there, man.
Yeah.
Well, great, man. Is there any shout-outs you want to give to your pops or anyone else or anything else we maybe didn't hit on?
My dad, Chris Colburn, he owns 95 S10. It's very well known as Blue. It's been from Ohio to Florida and back at many various shows for the past 15, 20 years, with him owning it and with the old owner, Adam Way, I believe that's his name, owning it. And it's changed a lot over the years. It had flames and it was on hydraulics. It was OG at the time. My dad tried to keep the paint job OG until it got backed into by I think a work truck, and then he had to switch it up and go with his solid color. But we're planning on changing the paint again and going back to an OG paint job.
Well, we are going to be excited to see it. If you've got photos along the way that you want to share, send them our way, and we'll make sure we get the word out. Can't wait to link up with you. The good thing is, now that you're in Florida, over the years, there's a lot of shows, and we try to highlight all of them as much as we can.
Yeah.
But there is a good mix of shows, and granted, Florida's a big state, but we know Sparks in the Park, that one's way over there. They're the redheaded stepchildren over in the Panhandle, right, the P word. But if you really look at all of the other shows, like Trucks and Cheeseburgers is coming up, of course, Slam Fest, and then you peel into next year with like Relaxing on the Ranch. I mean, you'll just have a blast if you can just hit some of those in the vicinity.
Yeah, our goal is to hit up a lot of shows in the upcoming year with my truck, our new dually we just bought, and everything else.
Very cool. Well, listen, man, it's always great linking up with you, Carter. I would ask that everybody, if you want to check out his stuff, you can just go out there, as we mentioned, type in down number 2, and then spell out the rest of it, Earth Photography. You can check out some of the cool stuff he's doing. He's really good at tagging people. He shared some photos recently with Matt Middleton's S10 and Waka's Toyota, and you got your little watermark going on. So I love to see it personally because I want to see more young kinfolk like you get involved in the scene. So keep doing what you do, Carter.
All right.
And stay on the rise. Give us an on the rise.
On the rise.
My brother. All right, man. You have a good night, and we'll keep in touch with you.
All right, you too.
All right, see you, bud. It's always refreshing to me to link up with some of the younger kinfolk. And, being that we could call him right then and there, not even pre-recorded, it's a good feeling hearing the positivity from someone like Carter. Now, continuing on the scene updates, I want to also talk about this here in a minute in terms of like Carter being a younger cat. the C10 intervention. So I wanted to kind of do a quick rundown. I had the opportunity, I was asked by Street Trucks to come out and help with the live stream. I've mentioned that a couple of times. What I ask is if you can go out on Facebook and YouTube and check out the live stream. Maybe you're working in the workshop, maybe you're in the garage, you've got a TV out there, maybe you can stream. Dude, it's one of those things you can kind of just put on and enjoy. If you're working, you could prop your phone up and just let it roll. There's some good content in there. We show the kickoff, the kind of the gentleman start your engine moment when the C10s all, turn the key and they start rolling down the strip. We go down the strip, we come back, we do audio and video from that night, the next day as well, which was technically the show. But I want to give you a huge shout out to Chris Hamilton, the editor of Street Trucks, for the opportunity, and Solomon Lunger as well. He shoots a lot of features, done a lot for especially the C10 Builders Guide, or the F100 Builders Guide, but he shoots all different types of stuff. But at this event, the quick rundown that I would say is the travel was pretty flawless. It was a 2-part flight over to Sacramento. I had never been that north in California. So flew in on Thursday. That allowed for, obviously the evening festivities, getting some food, hanging out. Friday, even though I'm West Coast time, I wake up almost at the normal time, and I'm ready to rock and roll. And it's like literally, I think when I woke up out there, it was like 3:45. Now, generally, I would wake up even earlier than that because I get up before 6 a.m. Eastern, and I found myself like twiddling my thumbs, right? Because Solomon and Chris, they're sleeping in their room, they're doing whatever, and I'm like pacing back and forth, like, what am I going to do, right? So I get on social media, start looking at stuff, start trying to plan out some of the things I knew that I wanted to do, like see certain trucks, get certain video, do certain things for some of the reels that I wanted to create, at the event, right? Which is still a day and a half away, basically, because we're talking Friday morning. Once we got going, we kind of made our way. I want to say we went to In-N-Out Burger for lunch, which was cool because that's, a place I don't get to go all the time. So that was pretty cool. Got some lunch, went over to the downtown area, and we did meet up on Friday night with Carlos. Now, Carlos is from Dropped Lower. He's also the guy behind C10 Intervention. So there's a lot of players, there's a lot of sponsors, there's a lot of folks that have helped him. But, if you go to his tent, it's the Drop Lower tent, it's the C10 Intervention tent. So, that's the brands that he has. So had dinner with him. It finally clicked because I was like, hey, I bought stuff from Dropped Lower before. So it kind of clicked that, okay, boom, this is Carlos. Okay, boom, this is his show. Got a chance to see his C10, his 67, I believe it is. Man, he kept talking about it. The engine setup, I think, is from Delmo's, I believe. And then he's got AccuAir on it, a killer stereo, just that patina on the outside that Ronnie talks so much about on C10 Talk. Got a chance to then cruise over to his house. Beautiful house, amazing garage, kind of like garage. And then I think on the other half was even a kind of it had like guest rooms. It was almost like a pool house with a garage on the side. I mean, it was sick. He's got he starts telling me he's got a bagged Impala. I'm like, yo, if you're only 4 blocks away, let's go check it out before we head back to the hotel. Because mind you, we're like 20 minutes from the main stuff, right? So we go over there, we check it out. He's got all these badass hubcaps, NOS stuff. He was one of the guys I know. I love those little coolers, those igloo coolers called Little Cool Rest with a K. I knew that he was collecting those like crazy, so I kind of wanted to see what he had. And, dude, just a real cool setup and a lot of parts, C10 stuff. And it kind of ties into one of his shirts because he has his hubcap shirt, and I love it. And it just ties into all the stuff that he loves, right? So we kind of hang out a little bit, and then we go back to the hotel. I think we cruised around a little bit, did some different things, but, man, we were just, like, blasted, right? We were just exhausted. Saturday we get up, got the game plan. Saturday basically ended up being the cruise. So we went in, if I remember correctly, we shot, I can't remember if it was, I think it was on Saturday. We shot a truck. So we had to meet up with the guy. We did some scouting earlier on because we were going to shoot some other stuff. So we got a chance to go out kind of the farmland area. And, man, there was this one area we went to, was a farm where they had all these sunflowers. They were all dead. And Solomon was like, man, I wonder what's going on here. And I was like, well, there's this really bad drought going on, which was my assumption for all the dead stuff. But basically kind of did some scouting, and that led us over to featuring a guy by the name of Kevin Wall, Wohl, I believe it is. And his truck was basically shot. Street Trucks, as well as Solomon and we did some behind-the-scenes live footage. We also did some behind-the-scenes photos, and we shared some of that, but not too much, because obviously, you want the feature to kind of come out, and you want to be able to see it. So that K5 Blazer, he ended up buying from a guy, and he kind of told us the story. Bob Grant had built this. I mean, I think he did a lot of it, and then I believe he had a local shop there in California do like a lot of maybe like punch list type stuff, refresh some things. I don't know the whole story on it, but nice guy. He cruised it over from the local shop, and I don't know, it was maybe like 10-minute drive to where we shot it. So that all went really well. Truck ran great. And then Saturday night basically was from 3 to 6, the road was shut down. So kind of the preliminary work, a lot of stuff went into it. The local jurisdictions that kind of work together with, DOT and fire and the, sheriff's office and all this different stuff. So basically around, around 3 o'clock, the road starts getting shut down. And then by 6, basically it was, gentlemen, start your engines. The cruise is on. The cruise went for, basically it was a 3-hour window, but about an hour and a quarter to an hour and a half into it, guys just started parking, hanging out, getting some food, slapping hands, and it was just a good time. Sunday, we got up early. By the time we got to that same area, it felt like we were late, even though we weren't. It was just there were guys that were even earlier than us. And so that was perfect timing. We started the live stream, started getting our content, and just was an awesome trip. The trip home, not too bad. Delayed flights, both going there, delayed flight coming home, almost missed the connection. And really, I would have missed it unless there must have been multiple people on the flight, which caused them to hold the plane at the gate for, an extra 15 minutes or so. That was great, thanks to United. And then, boom, I showed up. I thought, man, it's gone. They said, hey, you going to Tampa? I said, yes. And they said, you're in luck. You jump on. And so that was good. I haven't traveled a lot since the pandemic. Of course, I did travel for a family deal back in June, but that was about it from a flight perspective. The thing I would just wrap it up and say, dude, Carlos dropped lower, fantastic job. I've said this before, the C10 community, Ronnie was there. I got a chance to have dinner with him on Saturday night with Street Trucks and some of his homies. Dude, Juan from Phoenix Bicycle Company, and then it was Sam. Yeah, I think it was Sam Castronova. He was there as well, and he had his OBS truck, dude, looking fresh on some wheels. Just great people, right? But the thing I've always said about the C10 community is they are so tight-knit. It doesn't matter that there's different clubs, there's C10 Club, and they've got their banner that says, no rules, no dues, no this. Like, they're just a big family. I personally, I don't see a lot of hate. I don't see a lot of, this and that, or he's got bigger wheels or this. So, I want to continue to try to do our best to unite the mini truck community. Not saying that we're not, because, we see a lot of unity with the clubs, and, there was that famous photo a few years ago where, all the ladies and the, I think it was dude, lady, I hope. It was the ladies and the dudes holding the hands, I think it was. And they had all the jackets on, right? So there's a lot of unity with the bigger clubs and stuff. But I tell you go to an event like this, and it was just everybody is one team. It's C10s, it's Suburbans, it's C20s, it's C30s. There's a mini truck out there. Dude, it was all love. So I want to continue to see that in our scene, and I'll push that as hard as we can. I think that's all from C10 Intervention. If I forgot anything, I apologize, but bottom line, great city. Solomon and Chris did a fantastic job. Go out on Facebook and YouTube. Watch the live streams. It helps us so much. Leave a comment, things like that. Go check out the reels. I've done some of them, most of them on the Instagram. Solomon did some as well. So we want to keep that going with Street Trucks, and then, of course, over on OLP. All right, transitioning to a digital perspective, really only one key update here. Speaking of YouTube, Grinder TV, Mr. Brian, he did a great job. He released his new video, Mini Truckin' in the Northwest / The Awakening, which, of course, is Relaxin' in the Northwest, The Awakening. That's out there. Go check it out. Leave a comment. Leave a thumbs up. From a print standpoint, really the only update that I have here to share is I got a chance to get really a first look at the C10 Builder's Guide. Chris had a bunch shipped there out to the event, and you had an opportunity to get a free issue that's a $10 value, and it's a kick-ass issue. C10 Builder's Guide, one of the favorite books, so to speak, from Engaged Media. A lot of people buy it on newsstands nationwide. It wasn't quite out yet. This one's a little controversial because, of course, it features a truck on the cover with not one, but I believe it's 2 Tesla electric motors. Definitely going to hurt some feelings, but pretty cool. I got a chance to read through that. And then I would say I loved Ronnie's column. He ties in side A and side B of a cassette tape. Pretty cool stuff. And lastly, just a few things I've seen on Facebook. Radar did sell his one old school mini truck, so don't know the whole backstory there. But he posted on September 2nd and said the Datsun got picked up today and it's headed to its new home in Arizona. Kind of weird, dropping it off and never seeing it again. Hashtag Datsun 620. Hey, dude, congrats on the sale is all I got to say. And then I know Small Town Throwdown, we had Matt on recently to talk about it. It seems like it was a huge success. Waka posted and said, hey, just got home from Small Town Throwdown. This show is lit. Fire emoji, of course. And I mean, because it was hot. LOL, for real, this show is super laid back and chill. Huge variety of rides showed up. He did get he got a top 25 award plus the R Lifestyle Podcast Award, which is that famous skate deck. It features the graphic disorder artwork, but it was done by Joey at Get Decked. So thanks so much to him. If you're a show promoter and you want to put your artwork on some decks for some specialty type awards, search Get Decked, 2 words, Facebook or Instagram, and hit Joey up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That kind of wraps up the scene updates that I wanted to cover. Keep in mind, the scene updates is brought to you by Garage Gear Clothing. Often, I think you guys think we're joking, but if you go to garagegearclothing.com, they have free, yes, I said it, free shipping on all US of A orders. It says it right here, free shipping. And just note that they have the kids on lock in terms of gear. They've got the ladies on lock in terms of gear. And they have plenty of truck shirts, including sport trucks, C10s, minis, full sizes, you name it. Oh, I love their hat selection. But to check it out, you got to go to garagegearclothing.com or find them at an event nationwide like Lone Star Throwdown, where they will be slinging their gear. All right, I'm going to go over the key show updates, and then I'm going to try to get some audio with Collin Haggy. So the key show updates, basically by the time this airs, I will have refreshed the calendar, the official OLP digital show calendar, okay? The important thing here is if you go to ourlifestylepodcast.com, on the left side, you can select official OLP show calendar, and then, of course, once you land there, you do have to tap on where it says click here to subscribe. Now, we've made this a little easier. You can also go on Instagram. You can tap the link in our bio, and then select the option that will take you to this page, and then you just select here. You'll receive a pop-up that says, do you want to allow this page to open your calendar? And when you subscribe, all of these dates will be entered magically into your device. It doesn't matter if it's an iPhone or Android. So kind of what we're looking at here is some refresh dates for next year. So like adding in Lone Star Throwdown. Those are kind of some of the housekeeping things I needed to do. Now with the show season just blasting by. You basically heard Carter talk about Slamfest, so that's the 9th and 10th of October. Of course, you can pre-register now and save about $20, as we mentioned. SEMA is the first week in November, and it does look like I'm locked in to go out there from Sunday to Sunday. Well, of course, we're working on bringing some coverage from the Mini Truck Hall of Fame, so more on that. And then, of course, all week we'll be doing interviews all throughout the convention center. So super excited for SEMA. That's, of course, the first week in November. Laying at the Lake is the 12th through the 14th of November, Grapeland, Texas. And then Biggity Bayou Showdown is the 11/19 through 11/21. Now, that weekend, I will not be able to make it out because we're hosting our annual event, which we call the Tampa Kennedy Cruise, open to all makes and models. That's going to be on the 20th, and that pays a little homage to JFK, who was here back in '63 before his unfaithful trip to Texas, where he was assassinated. But that's going to round it out for this year, and of course, as we get closer to the end of the year, we'll start to reinforce the dates next year. Mike's show is in January. February, we've got a couple of shows, including Lone Star Throwdown. March, you have Orange Beach Invasion. Just so much to talk about. All right, so now I'm going to try to call Collin to talk to him a little bit. And again, we're keeping with the theme this episode. It's a little bit different, right? So we're going into some of our normal updates, and then we're calling a guest, right, to keep it fresh. Collin, he basically was someone that we met through our friends, and he's a mini trucker. Him and his dad, Brian, they love this stuff. And, of course, his truck was unveiled to him by his parents at Southeast Mini Truck and Nats. That was back in 2020. It was a secret unveiling. We did it in the OLP booth. We did it live on Facebook through Street Trucks, which was awesome. So I want to kind of check in with him. They've since done some cool things to the truck, and then we'll keep on going. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to transition in here. We did get Collin. I just called him. Collin, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks for asking it. What's the proper pronunciation of your last name?
Hagee.
Hagee. Okay, cool. Because I always want to say Hagee, so you got me there. You got it right. So, but
yeah, me and my dad always have a little chuckle.
I know, right? You're like, damn, just get it right. But we met you, as I had mentioned before. I called you, through friends, right? Through the Josh Ellis. Your dad's a good dude.
Yeah.
Brian, and of course, you're this young up and coming, kid that has showed a lot of interest in the scene, right? So why don't you just give like a little bit of background on yourself, maybe where you grew up and who you are, man.
So pretty much just outside Charlotte, North Carolina here. And I guess how I really got into the scene was, Josh Ellis had mentioned to my dad about March 2019 he had mentioned mini nats, and me and my dad just kind of looked at each other like, oh, cool, go check that out. And when we got there, it was so different than anything I'd ever been to. I had been to like car shows like Cars and Coffee, stuff like that, stuff that they put on at like the Speedway over here, but nothing like this. This was just the high quality that there was here was just breathtaking.
Oh, yeah.
And then just going through shows over the next 2 years and all that. And then, of course, COVID happened. So shows in 2020 that we really wanted to go to, we couldn't make it to. But when we heard that Mini Nats got put back on, we were like pumped, and we were like, yes, we want to go back. And I guess my dad was more pumped than I was because he had a secret hidden from me, and that was him giving me my truck at the end of the show, which you thankfully helped out and got that put out there, which I'm very appreciative of.
Yeah, we know that you are, and I'm glad you said that, because I had alluded that wanted people to know like a little bit of who you were. So when Brian, your dad, had approached us about doing it, we were like, hey, no problem. And that event, Southeast Mini Truck and Nats, which is every April typically, right, is kind of like the Super Bowl. Like it's not easy to get a ticket; they sell out quick, right? And it's just a high quality event. So rest in peace to our good friend Greg Miller. Greg had partnered with Mike and said, hey, from Scraping the Coast, what we'll do is we got the ticket. So your dad had worked kind of the angle right behind your back to be able to get the truck over there. And that couldn't have been an easy feat. I mean, you did really seem surprised, but did you have any like idea that something was going on?
No, I mean, I just thought, honestly, because like you brought me over, because we had just done the, I believe it was just like a little raffle or auction, and it was to help support Sean Rose, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
And you had brought me over, and you had like mentioned right before that, I want to like get you on camera, talk to you about your photography that you do, and also I was like, oh, okay, this will just be really cool. So at that point, my heart was a little like, oh my god, I've never been on camera before.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I hear this rev come up from behind me, and lo and behold, it's I guess now it's my S10.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the whole funny part about that whole day is we had been sitting back there because that's where you guys were like set up and everything.
Right.
And we were hanging out there back with you. And I literally sat up next to the truck, and I think I even brushed up against it one time, and I was like, oh no, I didn't mean to hit somebody's truck.
Right.
So I just thought that was funny.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, the way, like, I had no idea that was going to happen that day.
Yeah, and you had showed interest, obviously going to some of the shows, and, you're like, hey, I want to do this photography thing. But, obviously, kids start to get to 15, 16, parents start thinking about, hey, what's the first vehicle and stuff like that. Had you expressed to your dad that and your mom that you kind of, hey, I want to get a mini truck? I mean, how did those conversations go?
So, I mean, I guess it goes back to 2019 mini nets. I mean, I think I hadn't turned 15 yet. I was still 14. But like 14, 15, 16, like you said, that's when you kind of start pondering what your first car is going to be, what you want. And at that point, I had never really been opened up to mini trucks.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, I want like a third gen Camaro or something like that, or just like a little like, little Honda Integra or something like that, just kind of what everybody wants. And then I went to that first show, and I was like, oh, this Mazda's cool, this S10, this Datsun, Nissan, whatever. I was just like, these are so cool, and how much you can do with them is just, you can make whatever you want, and it's almost impossible to recreate what somebody did because of how much you can do to them.
Exactly. Yeah, paint jobs, static drop, bagged, bodied. I mean, you see some of the most wild stuff, and nobody, generally speaking, as mini truckers, we don't look at that person and go, man, they're kind of weird. Because I think we could all look at each other and go, man, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? So we're all like, it's kind of like a big, like a sideshow almost, right? I mean, you just go out there and shout out to Mini Truck and Sideshow. He's a good dude, but it's just a melting pot of people, and we all just love trucks and some cars in the mix, but mostly trucks.
Yeah, but like going back to what you said about like, everybody can say that's a little bit weird, and that's really what brings us together, because you can see like one truck has something, and then like you'll walk around the show and you'll see a couple other trucks with like little bits of that or little bits of this mixed in, because we feed off each other's creativity.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned the big homie Josh Ellis. It was good that kind of the gateway there was bringing in. I know your dad grew up on the West Coast and stuff, and being able to bring you guys along to shows, kind of open the gates for you to go, hey, man, you have this interest now, right? So, shout out to Josh, one of our good friends and brothers. But so what happens is, for those that don't know, so talk to us like when the truck gets pulled out, and then, we kind of, we had this ruse where, I was like, hey, come over here, I'm going to introduce you to Chris, like you said. And then once you found out about it, like, what was the feeling?
I mean, I was just overwhelmed with so many feelings. But whenever my dad got out and he like said, go sit it and all that stuff, the first thing that went through my head when I looked down, I was like, I can't try to stick.
Right.
And like, out of all the things I remember, that's one of the first things I remember from that moment, because it's just like, so like, out of all the things that I could be feeling in that, I'm worried about like
anxiety.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're like, dang, man, how am I going to do this? But it wasn't like your dad was going, yo, drive it home right now, So you had
no.
Yeah, but that's what's going through your head. So the other piece that was cool was we're standing there, and talk to us about one of the guys in the scene that stepped up and said, hey, man, I see what's going on down here. I'm gonna hook you up. I'll do a rendering.
Oh, Josh Rowan. I mean, where do I begin on how much he has just been there and support for me and my truck over the past, I guess it's been almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first off, just doing the rendering, I mean, I thank him countless times, and I think he's kind of getting a little annoyed now. But I mean, just meeting up with him at shows now. I really hated missing Hate Fest this weekend, but just with everything going on in my life right now, it was just a little bit too much to do. But I really want to make that next year, so that way I can be there and just show that, oh, I'm not gonna just be like, oh, thanks for the rendering, and then never talk again.
Oh, sure.
But just a couple months later, having my truck lowered how it was, granted, I wrecked it like 2 weeks before, so it was a little messed up. But just being able to go to Ballard and park next to him and just being able to share that moment with him and get pictures and all that stuff. I mean, it was just what he's done for me in the past couple months. It's just been incredible.
Yeah, good stuff. And Rowan, Rowan Concepts with a Z on the end. That's Josh Rowan. And, I want to thank him again because, he was there in the mix of things and he kind of put his hand out and said, hey, he saw what we were doing for Street Trucks Live, thanks to Chris and team. Mach 1 was there as well. And he says, hey, I'll throw in a rendering, and boom. So you work back with him on that. And then my whole vision was to be able to get some Beltec products, and maybe you guys do this at-home tech article. And, you alluded to that, or we alluded to that a few minutes ago. But all that came together, and my understanding was like you and your dad did that, and you took the photos. Talk to us a little bit about the tech article and how that came together.
So pretty much after Mini Nats, the day after we got the truck, we went back. We went just because we had to get back home and everything. So we went back, said our goodbyes, everything, thanked people and all that. And I mean, I was getting pointed out by people I didn't even recognize, but we ended up running into Chris. And we talked to him for a couple minutes and he gave me his card. And so when I got home, I emailed him, asked him a couple questions, and he just kind of mentioned possibly getting something working with Beltec because he had mentioned it. He had mentioned it before too, whenever we were talking to him. And I was like, oh yeah, that would be really cool. And lo and behold, a couple months later, he said, he forwarded me this email from one of the people at Beltec saying, we'd love to work with that. That would be an amazing opportunity. And Chris just made sure it was okay with me. And I said yes. And so a couple weeks later, this lowering kit shows up on my doorstep. And then me and my dad plan it out. And we called my uncle over, who just to help us a little bit, because I will admit me and my dad are not the most experts when it comes to stuff like this. So that really also made it fun, and it also made it a little kind of nerve-wracking at times. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we called my uncle over. He helped me. I unfortunately had to go to work, so they did a little bit of the work. But when I got home, I got right into it and was taking pictures, putting in shocks, leaf springs, all that stuff. And I mean, a couple hours later, I think it took us the whole weekend. So a couple hours later into the weekend, it was done and it was sitting there, ready to go and all that. We just had to wait for some bigger lowering blocks because I was like, no, that's got a little bit too much rake. I want it to be more level. So I ordered 3-inch lowering blocks, and that got my truck level. So I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, very cool. And that basically, the name of it that appears on the rendering is High School, and then it's like HAUL''R, so High School Hauler. And
yeah, that's what my dad drew up. He just was messing at work, he said. And he's coming up with names because, we're lowering it. Everybody's got a truck name. I need a truck name. So he's just messing around, and he comes up with High School Hauler, and that logo on there is what he drew. We sent it to Josh, and he put it on there just as so you know what it's called.
Heck yeah. Yeah, and it came together. The tech article ran in Street Trucks. You work back with Chris Hamilton. And, I want to thank Beltec. You can go to beltec.com, and, they're big sponsors of Street Trucks, especially the live streams. And I always encourage people that if you're looking to lower or lift your vehicle, rather, you can go to beltec.com. They have great support as well, and they've been doing this for many years, and I was super excited that they got on board with your project. But You mentioned there was obviously that little hiccup, right? You had this little accident, but everything's kind of back on track now, right? It was a small fender bender.
Yeah, I mean, nothing much. We had, and God help me, I can't remember his name now, and I feel so bad. But he lived about 15 minutes away from the showgrounds in Maggie Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And he hooked us up with a new core support, hood, fender, and I believe a couple headlights too. And then we got a new, just a matte finish bumper, nothing special, from Bob Miller, one of the Truck Commercial guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just picked up this new just black grill on eBay that I found real quick, so I could get it back together as soon as possible.
Got it. And was it Ben? It's Bill Miller, right? With the yellow truck.
Bill Miller. I said Bob Miller.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to make sure.
Bill Miller.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Great. So so you kind of got the parts, and you kind of back on track with Project High School Hauler.
Yeah, definitely. Just a couple things here and there. Got to fix a couple issues that just come with owning an older truck. Like we just had the clutch fixed a couple days ago, and now we've got to get. We have a rubbing problem in one of the fenders, so we're like trying to go about seeing how to fix that. Whether we just cut out the fenders in general, and just that way I don't got to worry about it. And then we've been kind of lazy about it, but we got to cut out the bump stops so I don't slam whenever I hit a big enough bump.
Oh yeah.
So just little things.
Well, that's great. I mean, dude, we're super excited for you. And
Thank you.
same thing we said, the listeners heard us talk a little bit earlier with Carter. Now we're on with Collin. Is, obviously it's not every day that kids are, joining the scene. Now, granted, there's a lot of dads out there and their kids are riding along and they love it. But, someone like yourself, that's kind of, you and your family, you guys took the plunge, right? Your family invested in this truck. And instead of you just kind of getting and going, whatever, like, you've got an investment in it now, right? Beltec was on board. You have the rendering. You guys do the lowering kit, the wheels and tires. And now you've got something you can enjoy. So, we're anxious to kind of see you, as you move ahead. Obviously, you got a lot going on, right? You're doing well in school, and you've got all that stuff. But, I mean, you got your future ahead of you, your photography that you love, and then now the Mini. But why don't you shout out your photography page on Instagram?
So my photography page, it's actually a nod to you, if you remember, from Southern Tradition a year ago. It's a little wordy, but it's a in, and it's a period, D-A, period, grass, and then photography.
Into grass photography. Yeah, like on the rise, but it's into grass. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, you're the one who kind of threw the idea up at me, because I was sitting around, I had this new camera, I was taking pictures, and you're like, hey, you should start a photography page. You get a big following. And so for the rest of that show, I just took pictures. I even went around with one of my friends that I met there and just took pictures and pondered a name. And I was like, you know what? Jason gave me this idea. I've got to give a little respect and an homage to him.
Oh, you're too nice, man. But yeah, we love seeing someone like yourself just be excited about it. You went to a show, it was like hook, line, and sinker. You were hooked, right?
Yeah.
And then now you've been back and you've dabbled around. But, obviously a lot of us think back, like when I was envisioning you getting some Beltec products and stuff, I thought back to when I was at that age. Like, I didn't have a truck when I was 16. I wish I had. But then, to your point, you and your pops, you guys don't know it all. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff, right? And my friend showed me how to change brakes, and then this other guy did the lowering spindles, Beltec, on my truck, and this and that. And, but that's the way I learned, right? It was kind of getting your hands dirty. So, you got a little bit of all of it. You got your photography page, you've got your truck now, you're doing the dang thing, and you got your future ahead of you.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I've really kind of tried to dip my feet in everywhere I can and just experience it from all angles.
Real talk, man. Well, why don't you give a shout out to your mom and dad, and then we'll wrap it up, homie.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be here. Like, I wouldn't know the people. I wouldn't have the people recognize me without my mom and dad, without them giving me that truck. I wouldn't have the friends I do with street trucks, Beltec, you guys.
Josh Ellis. Yep.
Yeah, Josh Ellis, Josh Rowan, Bill Miller, so many people, Daryl Poe, all them. I wouldn't be where I'm at without them and without them helping me with this truck. And because I will admit, I haven't paid for everything, but my parents have been there to help me, and I'm paying them back though. So there's that. But I mean, they've helped me so much in so many ways, and I just can't thank them enough.
Love hearing it, dude. Well, we got you on tape now saying you're paying it back, so there's no getting out.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But
yeah, I guess I kind of bit myself right there.
yeah, and the good thing is you got a lot of shows around you, and you know you're at a great time of your life, so you can go as fast or as slow as you want in terms of things. But you know it's great that you thank everyone else. I really think that's important, and you know we can't wait to see you at a show and to see this thing featured. I mean, let's be honest, you'll get it to a point where it'll be featured one day, and you'll be proud of that product that you guys have produced. So. Stay on the rise, Collin, as we always say, and we can't wait to slap hands and give the best to your pops. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll make sure to meet you guys soon.
All right. Hey, keep it in the grass photography. Check them out, as we mentioned. And Collin, have a good night.
All right, you too, man.
All right, peace.
See ya.
So, yeah, man, just syncing up with Collin, man. Awesome. And again, we're trying to keep it fresh. So if you're a first-time listener, make sure you follow or subscribe to the podcast. Typically, we have, 45 minutes to an hour banter. Thank God Miggity Mike the Mayor is out this week because we can mix it up, mixing it up like Sir Mix a lot and keep things a little bit fresh. We often get feedback when we do different things like this. People go, "Oh, I love the change up and the flow." So that's kind of what we're doing. We're experimenting around a little bit, and we're going to keep this thing going. So we had finished the key show updates earlier, and then we called Collin. So I want to thank the West Coast Influence. I talked about Radar selling the 620 earlier, but did you know that Radar also produced a mini truck documentary? Yes, it's called The West Coast Influence, and you can purchase it by going to minitruckfilm.com. They have Blu-ray, DVD, and custom die-cast vehicles available. Just go to minitruckfilm.com. All right, so the podcast updates. You guys, it's Friday for all the Day One listeners. Just know that we dropped on 9/9 our new shirt. Mike hinted last week we're paying homage to the ladies. 2 ladies that have been on this show before. This shirt, I'm telling you, it's a saying that I came up with, kind of like Mike came up with. Mini trucking isn't everything. It's the only thing. Well, this one is mini trucking. It's in our DNA. And we love the concept. We've got Karen Moore's Toyota, and we have Brooks Ranger, which was built by Jimmy's Run Customs. And we have a couple nods in there. You got the Space Needle, and then you have the Rocket. The Rocket, I guess, has kind of a dual meaning, right? Because it's East Coast. I think of NASA over here. Of course, on the Space Coast, they call it. But also, we always use the Rocket for kind of symbolize on the rise. And so go out to ourlifestylepodcast.com. We've got stickers, we've got hoodies, banners, T-shirts. We have tank tops, mostly kind of the guy-sized tank tops is what we sell the most of. And then, of course, I mentioned stickers. So there's going to be a lot more merch coming out with that saying, but bottom line is we appreciate all the support. We're super excited. We switched this one up a little bit. We did 2 ladies' trucks, as Mike had mentioned recently. But the important piece was for us is paying homage to the ladies that are doing so much in the scene. And then, of course, the It's in Our DNA kind of came from Brooke's logo, the RA logo. She has been on before, and she's talked a little bit about her job that talks about, or that ties into forensics, if you will. So it was this concept that I had. It has the DNA strand. It ties into the front logo as well. But all of that is mini trucking. And guess what? It's in our DNA. Ourlifestylepodcast.com. Make the purchase today. All right, the Airhead Nation updates is brought to you by Hammered Weekend Wear. But before we actually call, we're going to do some audio for some big updates with HDWW, also known as Hammered Weekend Wear. What I want to do is I want to just cover 2 things that I had saved for the Airhead Nation updates. Now, this first one's tough. Ed Eister, our friend, our big supporter of the podcast, he had posted on September 4th and said, "I lost my dad 40 years ago this morning. I was 9 years old, but I treasure the time we had together. He fostered my love of the Indy 500 and 70s Ford trucks. I still think of him often, especially when I use the tools he left me or when I cut the grass. Kind of had a real cool thing that he said about his pops, some great photos, and he adds a little bit more to it, but really, really, really good post, and love what you do, Ed. Can't wait to see you at Slamfest. Rest in peace to your pops. And then this one comes from Brian Marshall, BM, from the Pacific Northwest. He says, happy anniversary to my wife, who still loves me for some reason. I love her more than she'll ever know. And end quote. He kind of goes on to say a little bit more. To Rochelle, I think is how you say it, Marshall. Great people, and love that they're down with OLP. All right, so we're gonna call a few people. Rickety Ron Perkins, Adam Tripp from the Spark Show. I think even Corey Floyd, so this might be the first time we got a four-way Willie going on the podcast. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to call them real quick. Then I'll wrap up the show, and then we'll have some audio with Dayton from the Future Mini Trucker podcast, and that'll round out this episode. So again, please subscribe or follow OLP via any podcast app.
There you go.
Yo. So, man, we're getting ready to transition in here. The first time we've done a four-way. Hold on, let me restate that. The first time we've had four people on the phone, like a party line. That's the old school term of the week, man, right there. Ron, you there? I mean, you remember the party lines back in the 90s, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Party lines in the 90s. That is a good throwback term for sure.
I know last I heard Hank invented that. I mean, he was doing some sort of weird parties, but I've been basically advised I can't talk about that stuff because it's just too much. You know what I mean? But in all seriousness, we were just talking about the Airhead Nation updates, and we're keeping things fresh this week, mixing it up. And instead of me cutting a promo for HDWW, also known as Hamburg Weekend Wear, we wanted to get the team on. And Ron, speaking of team, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was you and Hank before, but I'm hearing now there's a growing team. So let me kick it over to you, man. I know you got a big update to share.
Yeah. Basically, starting in 2022, we want to continue to hit as many shows as we can. But being stuck in the Ram with Hank over these hundreds of thousands of miles that we've traveled is really putting its toll on me. So I was able to hook up with some really good folks that are they're just as excited about the brand that I am. So we were able to link up with Corey Floyd, Adam Tripp, Heather, and Chelsea, and they're going to be our new East Coast Hammered Weekend Wear distributor.
Dude, distribution on the rise, and we got Adam and Corey on. Adam, how are you doing?
Yo, what's going on, guys?
Everything's good in the hood. We love the Spark Show. And then we got Corey Floyd from Corey Floyd Photography. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How about you?
Good, man. You're keeping it on the rise. Let me get that OBS off you, though. You know what I mean?
I'll add you to the list.
Yeah, I know. So, Adam, talk to us a little bit about this experience. I mean, I understand, like, you guys from the Spark Show, one of our favorite shows out there, Sevierville, Tennessee. You guys are gallivanting, as we like to say, all over the country, going to other people's shows, kind of reciprocating, right? Going, hey, you come to our show, we come to yours as much as we can. But what's the thought process behind trying to kind of help out Hammered Weekend Wear expanding the distribution?
Yeah, so we, Corey and I, have been putting our heads together for quite some time, trying to come up with a little bit of our own thing. We like to get advice from legends in the scene. Walk in the room, Ron Perkins and Hank, and he's like, hey, I got an idea. I need some help on the East Coast. You guys are on the East Coast. What do you think? And, had some really good sit downs with the guys, and it's going to be a team effort. We're ready to hit it hard for Hammered Weekend Wear on the East Coast and save some miles on that Ram. So hopefully don't have to get on the transmission.
I know, right? And Corey, I mean, rumor has it you've got a topper on your truck, and apparently you can master P and sell some cassette tapes out the back, but you're going to flip the script and start selling the corn toss boards, and then now the HDWW right out the tailgate.
Oh man, absolutely. And we actually have something else kind of up our sleeves as well. That's kind of more hush hush. Another build in the works, but you just kind of have to wait and hang around and wait for that. So hopefully by the beginning of the year, when we're ready to release the whole hammer, we'll have a little extra vehicle with us.
Excellent. Yeah, I love hearing it. And real quick, since we're talking Corey Floyd Photography, just kind of mention your page because, dude, we love what you're doing out there.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm Corey Floyd Photography on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, I'm out there. I like to go to shows, and if you're at a show and need photos done.
Yeah, those Orange Beach invasion photos, though, man, those things were circulating like literally like a drug. You know what I mean?
Man, it is hard to take a bad photo on the beach invasion. I tell you, the night life, and I mean, it's just second to none. I am happy to announce I will be out there doing the show coverage again this year. So really excited about that. Looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, and I love seeing newcomers, not a newcomer, so to speak, but I mean, you're really putting some oomph behind, your brand, right, in terms of the photos, and I love seeing it. It's kind of like DJ Mays, our brother, the DJ to the scene, if you will, and love seeing what he's doing. But before we go back to Adam, Ron, I just wanted to kind of, get your thought when you think of the brand and where you started, right? And you put in so much hustle and blood, sweat, and miles, so to speak. Did you ever think you'd get to the point where you've got good people like Corey and Adam saying, hey, we got your back and we want to help distribute this? I don't want to call it crack. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it is a family podcast, but, we'll call it like, it's kind of like a drug to the scene. You know what I mean? These awesome designs.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's really humbling having those guys have my back like that and them believing in the brand as much as I do, because like I said, I had kind of born it about 7 years ago. So for them to see what we're doing is really awesome. And, it'll just help keep us out in the scene. I know those guys are, have a lot of love for the scene and go to a lot of shows. So I think it's going to work out. It's going to work out really well. And this doesn't mean that you won't see Ron Perkins anymore. Like if you see Corey and Adam, Chelsea, and Heather at a show, I might fly in. There's no way I don't think that I'll be able to miss mini nats or some of the fun shows like that. Because first and foremost, I've always been an enthusiast, and I don't know, I might have something on my sleeve to where I drive myself out there to mini nats.
I like it. Well, you got to be careful because, Adam, he's tied into the whole, racketeering and some of these, unions and stuff. I mean, he might try to debo the stuff, but, the good thing is Hank, if he comes off the top ropes, he might be able to take Adam down. Wouldn't you say, Ron?
Yeah, he's a brawler. He's a brawler for sure, but I don't expect any issues like that.
On the East Coast, Hank may have someone else to contend with. We may just have to see who pops up to beat up on old Hank. But man, Hammered Weekend Wear, we love it. We can't wait to support the brand, to make sure everybody gets their gear on the East Coast just as well as West Coast. Feature real builds, and we are super stoked about it. And speaking of newcomers, our first show that we'll be vending at will be the one with Daytona, Mr. Miggity Mike the Mayor, Eastbound Get Down. So we're super pumped about a new show, new venture for us. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I was talking to Carter earlier, kind of an up-and-coming future mini trucker, so to speak. Then we talked to Collin, and then we still have to talk with Dayton. But, Carter was already cutting promos for Mike, and I said, hey, man, you make sure, Mike, same with you, Adam, make sure Mike's paying you, dude, because, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you got to tell Mike, hey, we're the Spark Show. If you want someone like us to come to a show like what you guys got going on in Daytona, I mean, dude, this shit ain't free, you know what I'm saying? So just give him a hard time. And, he doesn't listen to the podcast anyway, so he won't hear this stuff, you know what I mean?
Well, he told me that his payment to us was letting me talk to him on the phone. Like that was the owner, so I just assumed that was what everybody.
Yeah, 30 years past high school, he still thinks he's the man. I mean, I just never figured that out, you know what I mean? But in all seriousness, Adam, I wanted to kind of reinforce that, you guys just, and sometimes I'm good with show dates, but it was the 7th or 8th annual Spark Show.
This was our 8th annual. Yes, sir. For 21. Annual.
And you guys have had the pedal stomped, right? And I see that you guys are always networking You have a lot of great brands out there, like some of our friends, Jason Bell at Mini Truckers Union, right? So many good people come out, but you guys are always kind of like, hey, what's on the horizon, right? And you built this show, you've had some great show coverage in Street Trucks Magazine. What's kind of your goal when you start going to these shows next year? Is it just to kind of help Ron? But, you guys will obviously be trying to get the word out for your show as well, right?
Yeah, the Spark Show will always be something that near and dear to my heart to be able to advertise. As well as I've got it tattooed on my arm, so I'm a walking advertisement no matter where I go. But yeah, we're going to go to these shows, and we're going to own this brand. Ron has said, you're a part of the team, you're a part of the family. And that's the beautiful thing about this scene is it doesn't matter where you're at, who you're repping, we're all part of the family and we're going to own it. Corey, the girls and I, this is going to be just as much our business as Ron's. And we can't thank him enough for the opportunity to be able to do this and bring it on the East Coast.
I love it. Now, Ron, is this where we pull out the official HDWW sanction book? And I don't think it applies to the ladies, but is this where we break it to them now that like face tattoos are kind of the first thing you got to do to be part of the team? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Minimum of one neck tattoo.
Corey's like, yo, I'm already
Corey
in.
goes first.
Yeah, I like it. Corey, this ties into Adam as well, but the Spark Show artwork for this year was amazing, right? And I just happened to see one of the posts earlier. I think it was Joey at Get Decked, our big homie. They laid down, and keep me honest, they laid down that epic artwork on some skate decks, and your truck was a part of it. Michelle Boone's was as well, and the toaster, as I call it. How awesome is it to see like something that you built? You've had a couple different looks with the 1500, keep me honest, but how awesome is it to see that artwork from Graphic Disorder on the Spark Show gear this year?
Oh man, it was. Words really can't even describe how awesome it is to actually just see it finished and on the logo and on the shirts and banners and metal signs and the skate decks. It was super just humbling and made me feel blessed. And I can't thank Adam and Don and the Sparks crew enough for having my truck on the banner with Michelle and Dustin's XB. It was just, and Graphic Disorder absolutely just killed the artwork as they always do. It was just perfect, spot on, and the little Corey bear was an excellent touch.
Yeah, it was good stuff. And Adam, I know you're I call him your right hand, I guess, right? Dizzy, he's not here today, right? Because I know Corey's here to kind of represent what you guys are going to be doing. But I know you want to tip your cap to Dizzy, man. The guy's a hard-working dude. He's always putting in work, and he's a big part of the Spark Show.
Oh, absolutely. Dizzy will always be a part of the Spark Show. Love him, and can't do it without him. Need his help all the way. You never know. I may drag him around to a couple shows that we go to. You may see him pop up in the booth, yelling everybody, come get your hammer gear.
Exactly. Yeah, you need kind of I don't want to call it the town crier. Like when you'd go to the carnival and there'd be like the guy like making all the, trying to piss you off to throw the dollar baseballs to knock the clown in. Like he's kind of that guy, not the clown, but he's the guy that's going to rope you in, right? That's Dizzy.
Yeah, that's the Dizzy. Yeah, sure.
The Dizzy, exactly. Ron, as we kind of wrap up here, this whole HDWW Hammered Weekend Wear, kind of leading from the west to the east from a distribution standpoint, anything else you want to share? I know you just recently had 2 pre-orders, so to speak, going down. Anything you want to plug there to kind of reinforce? I know you sometimes will add those extras to your website.
Yeah, we actually are just finishing up tomorrow. Well, technically when you listen to this, would have been a couple days ago, but the Catch Me If You Can featuring Dave Schulman's Catch 22. That was a really awesome artwork done by Eric and Graphic Disorder. And then the Tim Davis's convertible Nissan that was Ferrari inspired. We kind of went back to original Fast and the Furious and More Than You Can Afford pal on that design. That one's doing really well. And those will be in stock at Eastbound Get Down with Corey and Adam and Heather and Chelsea to be able to give everybody there on the East Coast what they need if they didn't get in on the pre-order.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to get some because I know the pre-order went so well. What we do need to do, too, is you and I have talked a little bit. We're going to link up later this year. We're going to have some big news from a T-shirt sub perspective, and we're going to kind of blow it out this year. And I think what I would reinforce to everyone is that Ron's the only guy, the Hammered Weekend Wear brand, if you will, is the only brand out there that has a T-shirt subscription that's involved in our truck scene. And because he has this down to literally a real tight schedule, he's able to produce 2 shirts every 2 months, give or take, right? So when you buy the subscription, you're saving upwards of, I've heard $40-$50, but it really kind of depends on maybe what you end up ordering, right, Ron?
Yeah. Basically, you get two T-shirts every 2 months, which gives you 12 a year. Just like your favorite magazine, you go to the mailbox, you get the 2 newest designs, and we do it from December 1st to December 31st because there's colors and sizes and everything involved. Which works out perfect, so it makes for a great Christmas gift. But yeah, we'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to do the pre-orders on sale on the website, and then, like I said, we'll take care of the West Coast, and Adam and Corey will handle the East Coast, making it a little bit easier. But yeah, we'll have Death Row West Coast and Death Row East Coast.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
A nice tie-in because, rest in peace, Pac was shot 25 years ago today at the time of this recording.
Insane.
Crazy. Now, Adam, before we kind of wrap it up here, I noticed on thesparkshow.bigcartel.com, you guys still have a few things out there. And anything you want to kind of wrap up from the Spark Show perspective?
Man, the Spark Show for 8th year, we sold out of everything. So there was a couple things left, but Dizzy got those sold at Revolution. So we are out of product at the moment. But yeah, definitely keep your eyes open for that new artwork. It's right around the corner for 22. Got a big surprise coming for it. And just like with Hammered Weekend Wear, we love featuring real builds as well. So stay tuned.
I love it. And Corey Floyd, dude, we got to get you back on to talk more about your photography. I mean, literally, it's one of the best in our scene. And if anybody hasn't checked it out, Facebook, Instagram, search Corey Floyd, just how it sounds. It's Corey, right?
That is correct. I actually spell mine the right way with an E. So
I like it. And the photos are so epic. I mean, we've seen some just awesome stuff. And I would just tell people, check it out. Any last words, Corey?
No, man. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having us on here. I know I can speak for Adam and myself when we thank Ron for giving us this opportunity. Like Adam said, we had kind of talked about doing kind of our own thing, and then this kind of fell into our lap in a way. And I mean, I couldn't be more excited to help out. I mean, what a better brand to help out. So
yeah, I love hearing it. My only advice to both of you is, at the middle of the night, you could get some weird text from, Hank kind of asking for certain things or send out some freebies. Like, just take that with caution. I mean, I know you guys aren't snitches, so I know you're not going to run right to Ron and be like, yo, I'm getting these weird texts. But, just be cautious because he could just be, having a good time and maybe not even realize what he's texting. You know what I mean? It's good stuff, man. Well, listen, gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for spending some time to talk about HDWW is the short that I use for Hammered Weekend Wear. And Ron, what's the website again?
It's hammeredweekendwear.com, HAMMERD weekendwear.com.
Or click the link in the Instagram bio. You guys have a great night and don't get into too much trouble without Hank.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on. Peace.
Hey, man, that was fun. I think the party line, we need to do more of that. And I was joking with them when we hung up there a second ago, and I kind of said, it killed a lot of birds with one stone because I kind of wanted to have Ron back on. And then Corey's a good dude. I mean, his photography is, it's getting noticed on the national level, especially with these shows going, dude, man, these nighttime photos, just doing some awesome stuff. And then, of course, we didn't get a chance, unfortunately, to make it to the Spark Show this year. Just a lot going on. Helping the fam down here and whatnot. But I'm personally looking forward to going back next year. I kind of got to drive down going a few years in a row and just love what those guys are doing. But most importantly, to our friend Ron at Hammered Weekend Wear, we love the dedication. This year was the U.S. tour. Obviously had a couple hiccups. We've talked about those with him recently, transmission challenges. But, hell, the guy went out and bought a brand new truck and still had some hiccups. But the good thing is he's not looking to slow down. He's just looking to kind of reorganize and go, hey, how can I be a little bit more efficient? And he gave it a go this year, but we'll, of course, see him at shows. And he didn't mention on the audio, but I talked to him the other day, and he goes, yo, Jay, he goes, I'm not going to miss Lone Star Throwdown. And I would encourage everyone to go to LoneStarThrowdown.com. And at the time of this recording, you're basically only about 165, 170 days away from the event. And that's right there. The counter is right there on their website. You can register now. And what happens is, they're probably, I'd say about 70, 75% sold out, if not higher. A lot of people are going to wait. You're going to have this like calm before the storm, and you're going to get to around November, December, and there's going to be a day that just goes boom, they're sold out. Okay, it happened to me a couple years ago. I really wanted to register, and I was like, I'll wait. I procrastinated it, and boom, it was gone. LoneStarThrowdown.com, pre-register. Trust me. Worst comes to worst, you can still get in. You'll have 2 passes, so it's not like you're losing your money. And I do believe they are cutting out the scalping this year. Unfortunately, that apparently is a thing, and I didn't realize it was. But you will be able to transfer your ticket up until maybe August 1st, I believe it is. But they're cutting out the scalping. They're keeping it legal, of course. I guess my last update, and then we're going to call and we'll round it out with Dayton from Future Mini Trucker Podcast, but kind of just a miscellaneous ODB update, not really live and uncut, but I've been thinking a lot lately, and I want to really motivate as many people as I can. So many of you tune into this podcast, the numbers have grown by leaps and bounds. I certainly appreciate that. One of the things I think that I need to motivate myself more to do, as well as everyone out there, not everyone, but a lot of you guys and ladies, is just really to live as healthy as we can, the lifestyle. I remember when I was in my 20s, people were like, oh, you get to your 40s, man, the wheels start coming off. And although I've seen some people, that are very, healthy people, and they run all the time, and they eat right, and they do all this stuff. Like, I mean, they can get into their 60s, and they look like they're in their 40s. So, believe me, there's people that can kind of beat that whole notion. But last year I took a job where I'm back to sitting on my all day in front of a computer. Before I was kind of moving a good bit, and many of us get to our 40s and 50s and we just become stagnant. No exercise, maybe bad eating habits, drinking a lot, especially at car shows. I know that's what I tend to do. Just all of that stuff, and we're in this time, this really weird transition where we're starting to lose people at these high rates. And, some of it is pandemic related, some of it's health related. I mean, hell, you just get to your 40s in general, and you start to lose family members, And oftentimes it's not of old age, it's just of things that could be preventive maintenance. I remember someone one time saying, man, the amount of preventive maintenance that we put into our vehicles is often more than we put into ourselves, right? With eating right or a little bit of exercise. All I'm saying is let's all band together, motivate each other to eat better, get out the bike once in a while, go for a walk, go for a run, whatever. But most importantly, something I need to do, I used to be better at going to the doctor visits. My wife keeps pushing me to get back in and, re-establish myself with our, primary care physician. Those type of things I think is super important. I have an Apple Watch, kind of monitors my heart rate a little bit. I go for, bike rides here and there and stuff, but it's still not enough. I've gained a few pounds, and I just realized that it's like, hey, get out there. We're losing too many good friends and family. Let's try, including this for myself, I'm going to try to live as healthy as I can, because that's the best I can do. There's a lot of things out there we can't control. And if we try to stay as healthy as possible, hopefully it'll mean many more days, months, years, decades to come for, all of us and many of the listeners out there. We will build upon this concept as we move forward with the podcast, but please, do as much as you can to move into a more healthy lifestyle. As many truckers, we go to a lot of shows, we drink a lot, we do a lot of this stuff, and, for me, I'm going to be 43 later this year. I don't talk about my age a lot, but I've just kind of realized that it's like, hey, man, got to slow down a little bit and just enjoy life, spend time with the fam. We've always preached that. But, let me know what you guys think, and maybe we can band together. We can get a group together, whether it's a Facebook group or it's something to help motivate all of us to do what we can to be as healthy as we can so that we can enjoy many more years here on planet Earth. So, miscellaneous update by ODB brought to you by Colorado Custom. Say it time and time again. No better customer service in the scene, in the wheel scene, than Colorado Custom. You can go to coloradocustom.com or look them up on social media, including Facebook and Instagram. You may also see on Facebook they're listed as CC Cycle Wheels. That is their motorcycle division, and you can obviously message them there as well. But, man, we covered a lot. I say we, Miggity Mike the Mayor, he's out. Who knows where. But thank you so much to the two early guests. We, of course, had our first four-way on the podcast, right? So that was cool. The party line, talked a little bit about HDWW, and then we'll pick up some audio here in a few minutes that will roll in to Dayton from Future Mini Trucker Podcast. We met him at Mini Nats in the past, and he's a great kid. Love what he's doing. Stay on the rise, y'all, and remember, our future of this scene is super important. Let's help bring more people into it to enjoy it for many years to come. Mini trucking is what we do. It's the lifestyle we live, but we got to keep minis on the rise, including the mini trucking and the lifestyle in particular. So, that's enough. You guys get sick of hearing me. Going to roll into this audio. Have a safe weekend. We out you. Yo, and as I mentioned, we're getting ready to roll in here with audio. Would like to remind everyone that Slamfest 30, yes, the 30th anniversary of the famed Slamfest is going down this year in October, 2 months away or so, in sunny Tampa, Florida. Come on down the 9th and 10th of October. Make those plans now. Always beautiful weather, knock on wood, in October, and it's the 30th anniversary for Slamfest. You can check the hashtag Slamfest30 for more, or just search Slamfest on Facebook. Pre-registration is still happening. You can save $20, and that $20 is like getting a free show shirt. Go out there today, Slamfest on Facebook. Hey, so as I mentioned, we're going to transition into our last bit of audio. It's been a jam-packed episode. And before we jump in with Dayton, I did want to remind everyone that I didn't get a chance to mention it earlier. This Saturday is September 11th, which is a day that we look back 20 years ago into the history of our country, and it was one of the worst days ever, the biggest terrorist attack, I believe it was, ever on U.S. soil, and not just in New York, of course, in Pennsylvania, as well as in Washington, D.C. So rest in peace to all the fallen, and let's hope that something like that never happens again to our country. A quick moment of silence. Thank you very much. And what I'd like to do is introduce Dayton Cooper. How you doing, DC?
Oh, not too bad. How about you?
Everything's good, man. We love what you're doing. And we love that we got a chance to meet you at one of our favorite shows, Southeast Mini Truckin' Nationals, earlier this year. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to some folks that may not know you?
I'm Dane Cooper. I'm 14, and I run Future Mini Truckin' Podcast.
I like that short and sweet intro. And I got to ask you, how did you form this love of mini trucks?
Well, my dad pretty much got me in the scene. My first air show I went to was Heritage back in 2012. I've been hooked ever since.
Dang, that's insane. I mean, so you're 14 years old, and you went to a show 9 years ago with your dad and your mom, man. That's insane. Like if you kept up this pace, you would go to more shows than anybody we know in your whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
This year's been a busy year for shows too. We've been to a lot of shows this year.
What's one of your favorites that you've been to this year or last year?
Probably this year. Definitely one of my favorites I've been to had to be the Spark Show and Relax in the Park.
Oh, they're great. They're great shows, but they're great people too.
Yeah. I loved every single show I've been to, but just those two shows just always have like such a great venue there.
Yeah, the Spark
just like
Show.
An awesome time.
Yeah, the Spark Show in Sevierville, Tennessee, and then of course you got St. Louis with our friend DJ Mays and fam over from the Relaxed Atmosphere family there. with Relax It in the Park, St. Louis. So talk to us a little bit about, like, at your age, are you already starting to have a truck? What are your plans in terms of what's going on in your head as it relates to mini trucks?
Well, I already have a 93 Toyota pickup. A lot of people have seen it. It's been an all-time low. And also, just this year, my dad actually gave me his OBS. It's also bagged and LS swapped.
Wow. Dude, man, you're running circles on us mini truckers, man. You got cooler stuff than we do.
But my plans with them, well, the Toyota still has a blown-up motor in it, so I'm going to get it running very soon. It definitely will be out next year. It actually went to Revolution a couple weeks ago. And the OBS, I'm going to do a body drop on it, and it's also going to end up getting repainted and a whole bunch of other stuff done too. I'm not going to say all my plans yet because I don't even know 100% what I want to do, but I kind of got a vision for it now.
And, when you're at this young age, right, you're focused on school and you got minis on your mind, so to speak. How do you go about having the funds to do this kind of stuff? Are you working part-time job, or what's your deal?
I actually work at my grandparents' restaurant. I've been doing online school for since all the COVID stuff happened, and it's just been pretty easy for me to actually go to work now.
Oh, very cool, man. So you're balancing a lot of stuff to be able to meet the goals that you have.
Yep. It's definitely hard work, but at least I get to enjoy it.
What do you envision for the future? I mean, is there one particular thing you want to do as you get older, or is it just minis on the mind?
Another thing I want to do, and hopefully I can bring it back next year. Back when I was 12, I actually did a show, just for wagons and pedal cars and stuff, you know what I mean? So we actually did one for St. Jude Children's Hospital. We actually ended up raising $700 that year. So I want to actually bring the show back, but actually make it for mini trucks and for all vehicles. But I do definitely want to bring that show back. That's one of the main things I've been wanting to do.
So you raised some money for a hospital. That's a great cause.
Yeah, and I bet if I would have actually done an actual show, it would have raised even more.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's a lot of positivity that you have going on, especially over on your podcast. And talk to us a little bit about, obviously you're growing up in this tech age where, many of us remember before we had phones, right? And now you have camera phones and you have just so much technology at your hands. At the young age that you were and that you currently still are, how did you come up with this concept to start your own podcast?
Well, actually, my main inspiration was from you guys.
Oh, no way.
I was just sitting down. I always listen to your guys' podcast, and I was just like, man, I kind of want to do something like this, but I want to do it something different. I want to do it towards future mini truckers. So then I just sat there and thought about it for a while. Then I searched up how to start the podcast, and that's how I figured out the recording app I use and everything else, and it just went on ever since.
I remember when you had me on about a year ago or so, and you kind of alluded to that, and it made us feel good. But when we get older, and we have younger folks, like the theme of this episode, right? We talked to Carter earlier, we talked to Collin, now we're talking with Dayton. It's not every day that we see young kids, maybe wanting to get in and build stuff. Now, granted, there's a lot of dads out there, and we always want our sons to do it, and there's plenty of those that are out there and they're doing it. But for me to see someone that's younger, like yourself and the other guests that we've had on, have the motivation to want to do cool stuff, it just brings a smile on my face. Do you when you think about the future of mini trucking, right, is what you talk about on your podcast a lot, what do you foresee in the next few years with mini trucking?
I definitely see a lot more future mini truckers being a part of the scene. Ever since I started my podcast, I've noticed a big spike in future mini truckers, which I'm sure they've been in the scene for a long time, but I didn't realize actually how many there already is, and I'm sure there's a lot more of them to meet too. But I definitely will say mini trucking isn't going to die anytime soon.
Yeah, would you say it's on the rise?
Yeah.
One of the things that I have found through our podcast is talking to people like Karen Moore from the West Coast. She talked a lot about in the 80s when she found this love for the trucks, she didn't realize there were so many other people out there that had this similar hobby or the same hobby. And the magazine was just kind of new at that time and whatnot. But I do think that you've done a very positive thing, because if you equate to kind of what she said over to what you guys are doing, you're kind of bringing together people that have a similar interest, right? Or someone that's like, oh,
Right.
yeah, I've seen one of these trucks, but okay, now I understand the lifestyle a little bit and that type of thing. You do a good job of picking different guests. How do you go about finding your next guest?
Well, I just always look and see, like, as far as like the future mini truckers go, like, are they actually dedicated to the scene, or are they just in it because their parents are making them go to shows?
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like the grown-ups go, it's the people that I see like putting a big impact in the scene, like people that are supporting us and also doing great things for the scene.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite ones was our friend DJ Mays, Jason Barbaglia, and he was a fun guest over there. And you've had a lot of good people on. What positive message would you send to maybe someone that's young in the scene and they're debating about, hey, do I want to get into doing this? As far as a mini truck perspective, right? As a future mini trucker, what would you tell them, Dayton?
Well, I would end up telling them that if, like, when you get in the scene, there's gonna be people that don't understand, and people are gonna try to bring you down. Just don't listen to anything that they say, and do what you want to do, because that's gonna be the worst thing that you're gonna fight when you become a future mini trucker, is people not understanding.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? And so often I think mini truckers, we got into it all for I don't know, different but similar reasons. And, one of those things, oftentimes, we built crazy trucks. Like, there were people all over the country building these wild trucks, dancing beds, crazy paint, and this type of thing. And it really wasn't seen in any kind of other genre at the time, not really in hot rods. I mean, some, but not to the extent of the craziness that you see in mini trucks. So I guess in a way we're kind of like outcasts, but we've been doing it for so long, it wasn't just a fad. So it's become kind of the norm. And, as you know, Dayton, that's what we call our lifestyle, man. This is what we do. We live it. We go to shows everywhere around the country,
Right.
Now, we celebrated, unfortunately, Courtney Halliwell's passing, the 10th anniversary, and then, his birthday came around. But, we're always reminded of the quote from Why It's Strange, which I know that there were, a couple of people, including Courtney, involved with this. But we have become part of something much more complicated than you or I will ever fully comprehend. We build more than just trucks. We build friendships, we build features, we build our dreams. We drive our trucks low and hold our heads high because we have an unwritten and unspoken agreement that we will live life to the fullest and never fall victim to the norm. Others laugh at us when we spend hours on end working on our trucks, yet shake our hands when we are done, and that's the famous Why It's Strange quote. It really applies to 30 years ago, or it applies to today. Some people look and they laugh at what we do, but then we build these killer trucks and they're like, dang, that's pretty awesome, right? Do you see, like, when you're building stuff or you're hanging out with your friends, do the older people look down at you guys and go, oh, that's dumb what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing that I normally get asked is, like, always, like, at where I work at, my grandparents' restaurant, there will always be people coming in that's always asking me, because my mom always tells them about my Toyota and stuff. They're always asking me, are you going to paint it? Then they look at me stupid when I tell them no, because they think, well, it's just like old beat up truck. It's what it looks like to them, pretty much.
Oh yeah, it's crazy how people love to try to spend your money and tell you what you should do, right? But sometimes they just need to take a step back and be like, yo, that's some cool stuff. Or the old saying, if you don't have anything good to say, just don't say anything at all, right?
Right, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people forgot.
Oh yeah.
Because anymore, I mean, people just want to bash on people for no reason.
Oh yeah.
I mean, why does it matter if somebody wants to lift their truck or bag it or whatever? Like, we're all doing kind of the same ordeal. Like, we just like having a different mindset. Why would you hate on somebody else that wants to build their vehicle different from you?
Real deal. That's what we say. Real deal, Holyfield. That's like boom. That's it. I like the way you think. Who are some people I know? Outside of the podcast stuff, right? I mean, because we're not here for you to say, oh, we love OLP, right? We love what we do, but let me ask you this: who are some people? Is there someone in the scene other than maybe your pops that you look up to, or do you see a truck that's one of your favorites that you go, man, that's motivating me to push, harder?
Yeah, I can actually have a full list of this. As far as that goes, definitely one of my biggest inspirations is Jeremiah Sabre. He is one awesome builder and has taught me a lot too.
Very cool. And what's something, think about it, like maybe what's one thing that you've learned from this person?
I've learned he's taught me how to weld.
Wow.
And also I've kind of learned, because we ended up building the Blazer up there, so I've also kind of learned how to build vehicles, like how to bag something too.
Wow. And I mean, let's get this out there again. You're only 14 years old, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, man, 14 years old, I think I was trying to, figure out how to open a cassette tape back in the day, you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
I guess in, 92, man, I was waiting for the Snoop album to come out, some Dr. Dre. And you're out there welding and building trucks. That's pretty cool stuff.
It was almost funny because I remember when we first did the podcast, I was older. You ended up thinking I was 16.
Yeah, I know, right? You got a cool name, right? So every time I see your name, Dayton, I always think rolling on some Daytons, right? Those are some wire wheels. Did you, what's the story behind your name? Was your dad thinking of some wheels when he named you?
Honestly, I don't know. I think they were thinking of the city.
Okay, that's not bad. I mean, one day you'll have to have a build where you have some Daytons on your vehicle. You know what I mean? You'll be like, yo, my name's Dayton. I'm rolling on some Daytons. I'm rolling on some D's. You know what I mean? I think that'll be cool.
Right. and then just to top it off, we'll put Cooper tires on it.
Dude, look at that. Dayton Cooper ties right in your name. DC for short. I like it. So before we wrap it up, we're talking with Dayton Cooper from Future Mini Trucker Podcast. Let everyone know, Dayton, how they can go out and listen and stream your podcast, because I know you and your team will appreciate that.
You can go find us on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We're working on getting on some more streaming apps, but that's what we have for the moment.
Yeah, and then what do they need to search? Because I know that sometimes I'll say Future Mini Truckin or Future Mini Truckers. Why don't you give them the official name?
Future Mini Truckin Podcast.
Got it. So Future Mini Truckin with an IN podcast, kind of 4 words. And if you Google that in our favorite search engine, Google, you'll see that it will land on Apple Podcast, Anchor, Spotify, and even Facebook. So, to your point, Dayton, it's a catch-all, right? So you can Google it, or you can search via your favorite podcast app.
And also, if you're also interested in watching videos, we have a TikTok, Future Mini Truckin Podcast. It's Future_Mini_Truckin_podcast. And we also have a YouTube channel, Future Mini Truckin Podcast. And then we also have an Instagram where we'll keep the updates on the builds.
Man, you guys are taking over, man. We're gonna need you to maybe help us one day, man. Try to get to the levels that you guys are reaching. I mean, you're already a young dude, but you got cool builds you're working on. You go to shows. You got your own podcast. I mean, what's next for you guys?
No, I enjoy being a part of the scene. I mean, this has been one of my biggest dreams to get on here.
Well, it means a lot to us, and I tell you, man, if we could just clone you, Dayton, we could make the world more mini truckers, positive, upcoming, coming up at the scene, working on their trucks, going to shows. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. A lot of us are just trying to get to your level, so to speak, and do those cool things. And you're already doing it at a young age, and, we tip our cap to you, bro. I mean, that's cool stuff.
Thank you.
No problem. Well, as we go ahead and wrap it up for this episode 253 of our Lifestyle Podcast, I wanted to ask you, Dayton Cooper, anything else that you wanted to share? Any shout-outs to your fam?
Just want to say thank you guys so much for letting me be on here. Again, if you guys want to listen to a podcast, definitely come check us out. on Anchor, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. If anybody ever has any questions, you guys can message me on Facebook at Dayton Cooper. Also, I just want to thank my dad for getting me in the scene.
Cool. And reinforce your dad's name again. I know you said it at the beginning.
Devin Cooper.
Excellent. DC and DC. DC and Little DC. I like it. Well, listen to your. I know your mom and dad came out to Southeast Mini Truckin' Nationals, Maggie Valley, every April. Earlier this year, it was cool meeting you. Was it this year or was it the October of last year?
It was last year. We didn't make it out this year. We went to Alabama.
That's right. Okay. So, thanks to them for coming out. I know they had big smiles on their faces, and it's great that you're at such a young age and you're already networking. You're meeting us old guys that really we just love mini trucks. But, you were kind of floating around, meeting everyone, and that's what it's all about. So, Dayton Cooper, Future Mini Trucker Podcast, check it out, or Future Mini Truckin, maybe I'll say it right, Future Mini Truckin Podcast. Check it out on any podcast platform that you can pretty much think of. And Dayton, man, just stay on the rise, and we'd love to have you back on in the future when we have more to talk about.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for letting me be on here.
Yes, sir. And as we wrap up this episode, again, we want to thank all of our sponsors, including Bayou Showdown and Orange Beach Invasion. It's going down, of course, next year in Orange Beach, Alabama. And then Bayou Showdown is this November, the weekend before Thanksgiving in Slidell, Louisiana. Thanks so much to Dayton, Collin, as well as Carter for coming on. And, of course, we had Hammered Weekend Wear with Adam Tripp and Corey Floyd. So a jam-packed episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Have a safe week, and we'll hit you back next week with an all-new episode, almost 3 straight years every Friday. ODB, we got you. Peace.